Now the time has come to introduce a character, one of the most influential characters in the series of One Piece, maybe the second one after Imu. His influence makes him so respectful and dangerous that he was invited to two interesting events in the world of One Piece. He was invited to the Reverie and to the Tea Party hosted by Big Mom. This guy is the one who gets to choose who's an emperor of the sea, or possibly the guy who has the power to decide who gets to become the king of pirates. And that guy is Big News Morgan. I talk about this guy that looks like a bird. Here's a Big News Morgan. He's the second most influential character in the series of One Piece after Imu. Of course, that's opinion. Those are not facts, just observation. That gives Morgan enough credit to be one of the most respected characters not affiliated with the world government. Let's not forget that Big News Morgan is one of the emperors of the underworld. Why Morgan is so influential? Because Morgan has a monopoly of the only newspaper or media that is distributed worldwide. Therefore, the world will have no choice but to assume as true the information that is published by the World Economic newspaper presided by Big News Morgan. He even gets to decide who becomes Yonko or Emperor or who gets to become a king of pirates. Let's not forget that the world government gets their information from more reliable sources such as the CP agents and the Marines. They get the facts and investigate news and rumors. I was planning to add Big News Morgan into the CPX agent team. However, after making some research about him, I found out that his addition to the team is totally meaningless because of the internet. Just think about it. Morgan Power is about world news monopoly. Therefore, in our modern world with the internet, he has nothing to bring to the table. Now, if he's able to bring high interesting news that only he has access to, then it might be a different story. Now, time to move to the next and more interesting topic. It's the World Economic newspaper. I never paid more attention about the mechanic involved in the distribution of the newspaper until I ran into a video on YouTube that was speaking about it. The way this newspaper is expected to work for some reason I cannot figure out or digest it. I just can't. These are the point that to consider for this business to work. One, the seagulls they must have some understanding of the human languages. In the city of One Piece, it looks like they do. Point number two, they must have some basic math knowledge to be able to accept the right payment. Point number three, what happens when pirates or citizens do not want to pay or they just pay what they feel they should pay? How a seagull are supposed to react? What are they supposed to do? And if they get like ripped off, how they describe the situation back to the newspaper team when he travels back? How do they report the situation? Point number four. How do they know when to just drop a newspaper to a ship or when the seagull should land in case the customer wants to buy the newspaper? How do they know when to just drop it or just when they should land to deliver the newspaper? Now, when dropping, this is point number five. When dropping the newspaper in a city or community, who is supposed to pay for the newspaper? Did the city hall make a contract with the World Economic newspaper, or how many should be dropped and the city hall is charged accordingly. Point number 6, the World Economic newspaper must have a huge number of bases with printing presses expressed across the world. In every base, there must be at least one person or one character who can understand and possibly speak the language of the seagulls, because Morgan himself cannot possibly handle all the seagulls' problems and complete by himself. That's something about the newspaper that Morgan handled. That's something kind of hard to understand how this thing works. They are delivered by seagulls, and how do the seagulls report back the situation? It's kind of hard. And so this guy was very powerful, influential. This was the objective: to let the world know our point of view of the truth. Having the most watched news on earth on our side, the general public will be able to know what is truly going on. Now, but because of the internet, we don't need this guy. Let's jump to the next topic. All right. Something more interesting to talk about is management. The Grand Fleet Admiral, Buggy. Buggy. I'm pretty sure that many of you can't wait to find out on what basis Buggy was selected as the Grand Fleet Admiral. Let's check out those points. Alright, here we go. Command only Marine units. Buggy the Clown. Buggy. Buggy, better known as Buggy the Clown, seems to have all the requirements to the Fleet Admiral based on a detailed analysis of the One Piece series. Because of his exceptional performance, we're sure that we can achieve our goals with him on our side during these difficult and uncertain times. Reason for hiring: Buggy's natural ability makes him immune to slashing attacks, including hacking-infused slashes. After a careful investigation, Buggy can make his disassembled body part levitate and control them telekinetically. He can launch his body parts at high speed, allow him to strike a distant target with strong force. He can also split his body to dodge opponent attacks by detaching the section of his body that would have taken the attack and making it fly out the way. Also, his body parts remain connected to each other even when they are separated. To further reinforce this hiring decision, these are the points. Buggy, let's see, he was a former member of the former Kings of Pirates. Here it is. Point number 2. One picture show over here. Buggy leading the escape from Impel Down. It appears to be that a huge door was removed from Impel Down and was placed on top of a former warlord who was forced to carry Buggy to defy the world government. Just look at the picture. Just look at the picture. It looks like Buggy took a wall, ripped it off from Impel Down and put it right on top of Jinbei and made it. You're gonna take us to defy the world government. This is what appears to be. This is what appears to happen. Look. What's the next point? At some point during the Paramount War, Buggy took a hit from the best swordman in the world and did not affect him at all. Look, he took a slash from Mihawk and he just got scared about it and it was nothing for him. Point number 4. Buggy was found arguing one-on-one against Shanks without being intimidated right there. Look at that. The guy got guts. He got courage to tell Shanks the truth in front of the faces, right in front of him, and screaming. What's the next point? Buggy indirectly challenged Whitebear. He even indirectly he challenged Whitebear indirectly. Let's see. Buggy indirectly challenged Whitebear, and Whitebear asked to join forces, which was an acknowledgement of Buggy's potential. Prepare yourself. Why don't we? Black and Whitebear answered, "Hey, why don't we join forces and then you could go after my hair?" Okay, fair enough. Fine, I'll set your deal. That's basically what it was. What's the other point about Buggy? Buggy was the leader of Cross Gaio, an organization that had under his disposal two ex-warlords. You can see right here, he's the leader of a Cross Gaio. What else Buggy was able to accomplish? Buggy managed to accomplish a warlord. In this chapter right here, he received an official invitation from the world government to become part of the Shichibukai, the warlord. And on top of that, he managed to become an emperor. Now, it was decided that there was enough evidence to hire Buggy for the Grand Fleet Admiral because of his amazing accomplishment. And now, it's time to move to the next guy. Time to move to describe the commander in chief. The guy that can give the command to any unit on the OPWG regime. That guy holds the title of Commander in Chief, Magellan. He can command over any unit. Let's find out on what basis Magellan was hired the Commander in Chief of the OPWG. Magellan. Ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, the time has finally come to introduce the character with the highest authority in this presentation of OPWG. This character is at the level of an admiral in terms of power scale. At some point, he was a vice warden of the infamous Imperial Down prison. Then he was promoted to chief warden. Then he was demoted to vice warden. What made him reach his position of commander-in-chief is his background and accomplishment. This guy has history poisoning his adversaries and built a strong reputation that kept him in power for too long. He was supposed to lose election, but for some reason he gets to win election. As a result, someone who is so respected and feared is what is needed to take control of the action of the remaining team. That makes the army of the OPWG. And I have something else to say. Interested that Impel Down, if I didn't say it before, is my favorite arc of the entire series of One Piece. Alright, let's take a look to the hiring document for Magellan. Based on a thorough examination of the One Piece series, Magellan appeared to meet all the qualifications needed to be the commander-in-chief. With him on our side during these struggling and uncertain times, we are confident that we can accomplish our goal due to his outstanding performance. Reason for hiring. It came to our attention that in the One Piece series, all the prisoners are afraid of Magellan. According to our research, Magellan can produce various types of poison, ranging from a mild irritant to a strong paralyzing agent to a deadly and highly corrosive toxin. He can produce this poison in either liquid or gaseous states. Point number two, he's also completely immune to all types of poison. Point number three, he can create massive amount of liquid poison that he can shape into a gigantic monstrous entity such as Hydra or a demon. He can also cover himself with a thick layer of liquid poison, giving him a virtual suit of armor. Even though his poisoning can be cured fairly easily individually, a mix of various poison is nearly impossible to cure. Just to confirm and fortify this point, before and after, I'm going uh, I'm going back to a point that I said before about Magellan. This is the strongest point of all. Before and after any presidency election, he has the history of poisoning whoever he considers to pose a threat to his regime, thus allow him to stay in power for who knows how long. Therefore, someone that not even his own military dare to question or challenge, since everyone is afraid of him, makes him the most suitable figure to hold the position of commander-in-chief. So, this guy has history of being respected. He poisoned his opponent, his election opponent, and he wins and wins election, and not even his own military dare to question him or challenge him. That makes him suitable for the position of commander-in-chief, because to command this, somebody has to be respectful and fearful. Let's see, what do we have over here? Objective: to interpret the will and purpose of the OPWG and deploy the units that are suitable for a particular task. Benefits: since Magellan is the most respected character due to his background, we are confident that he will keep the remaining of the team under control. Limitation: his most powerful poison cannot melt or dissolve walls made of stones or bricks. In the series One Piece, he is able to do. However, in our war, that's too much. That's not acceptable. Well, I think that's everything for this chapter. That's the end of the presentation of the characters. The next chapter is how the regime made his introduction to our world. Of course, in a fictional way, in a fictional time in history.